VR game development and gameplay since COVID-19. Yeah. So in this panel, VR game developers and creatives discuss how COVID impacted the way they work, gameplay, world building, interactions, etc. Furthermore, we will discuss how the COVID changed the landscape for VR game devs, more headsets, less arcades, and the influence of the platforms, all right? So this session is originally in English. So if you want the translation in Portuguese, just please access the link for the translation here on the channel. So please, let's welcome Yan Suke, CEO of Ikimasho. How are you, Yan?
I'm good. How are you? Oh, sorry, it's a bit of a mess behind me. I hadn't noticed that. I apologize.
I didn't notice actually. You know, I just loved your hoodie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop. You know, it's a classic.
Super stylish. So, are you ready to present something about VR? What do you have for us? The screen is yours, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get your last question. Was the question, am I sharing my screen or?
If you're, yes, if you're showing your presentation right now.
No, I don't have a particular presentation to share. I was just gonna share insights and thoughts about the last year and a half about how we've been impacted in terms of development by COVID. And how in a game that was in development and also now with a new game that's being prototyped, how the situation has been quite challenging for us developers. And in addition, talk a bit about what has changed in terms of perception of the VR market thanks to COVID. Some has been positive and some has actually been surprisingly well, negative is maybe a bit harsh, but not as positive as you might think. So I was going to share insights on all of that.
Okay, that's great. Do you have something to present? Or
no, nothing in particular.
Okay, it will be easier for you to just speak. So just go ahead.
So just my understanding was that hold on, sorry, that we were going to be the three of us. Anyway, yeah. So so over the past, so if I make a quick history of Ikimasho, we're a Paris-based VR game development studio that was founded in 2018 and started development of our game in 2019, early 2019, around April, May. So when COVID hit, we were well underway in the development of our first game. We were past pre-production, already in production, and so and then we released. And then just to complement the whole history of the game, we released the game in October 22nd, 2020. So very much into COVID, into the peak of COVID and the beginning of the first, well, second winter of COVID, when the second wave, right? And since then, we've been operating Star Shaman successfully, and we've started working on our second game earlier this year. So the COVID and working remotely, and I suppose before I go into the specific details of how we've had to adapt, I suppose we'd need to zoom out because everybody has been impacted by COVID-19 and everybody has had to adapt, right? So I suppose in order to make this a relevant conversation, you need to say why, what specifically has impacted us in video games that maybe has not impacted other industries as much, although it probably has. We're probably not the only ones, right? But our business is entirely based on innovation, right? On the entertainment business is about innovation. It's about creating new, surprising experiences that surprise the audience, be it players or people at the movies or music, etc. Like any sort of consumers, and any sort of entertainment product, and that requires a lot of interaction between people on the team, right? It's about, because you don't necessarily know exactly where you're going, so you have a general direction of this is the feeling I want to convey, but how you create that in your own medium, be it games, movies, music, is a process of iteration and a process of trial and error and repeated and very, very quick iteration. And that requires a lot of velocity and a lot of interaction with people and with people on the team, particularly in games, because it's such a team-based and a team-based medium in terms of development. And Star Shaman was, to a certain extent, because we were out of pre-production, and so we knew where we were headed, was less impacted by COVID as the current prototype that we're working on, in the sense that since we knew where we were going and the whole phase of, let's say, innovation, right, of finding new ways to play, of developing new features, had essentially been done and was behind us, we were only, quote unquote, executing on that vision. So what it required was a lot of production management. Of course, getting people remote, moving the computers and all of that, but none of that is specific to video games, right? But we had to do that. And then it was just a matter of setting up the production pipelines so that people would communicate, Slack, Discord for voice chat, the usual stuff, nothing drastically new here. And we were actually quite successful in doing that and lost very, very little velocity, but again, because we knew where we were headed. And then we released the game. Well, France deconfined in the summer, so we got back into the office, and then we reconfined in the autumn. So we again moved back home. So it's been a bit of an annoying up and down, but again, nothing specific to video games here. And but what's been more interesting and more challenging, I suppose, was driving innovation and driving prototyping for our current game. Hold on, sorry. You have now Anna to talk to you. Oh, okay, got it. Hey, Anna. And so just finishing that. So I'll just quickly finish that thought. The idea was then so in terms of prototyping the next game, so it's very, very much based on, on this core sentence of, okay, what kind of core idea, what kind of emotion do we want to transmit? And again, game development being so a team-oriented process, it's been harder to drive interaction and momentum between team members over the past 3 to 4 months. Now we've been able to do it, and thankfully, because we've done a first game together, so we know each other and we know how we work. So we require less. We're already a strong team, and we require less. Let's say team building, if that's a thing, or at least relationship building between us, and the trust is very high. So that has helped, but it's been a bit of a challenge to try and get people on board and in the same direction. So a lot of documentation, a lot of over communication, annoying over communication to the point where I annoyed myself, sharing and talking with the team. But we've been, over the past 8 weeks, again, I'd say very successful, because what we have now is actually pretty cool. So yeah, definitely more challenging now in a period of necessary innovation than a period of production. And sorry, I just saw that there's a question. What was the biggest difficulty you encountered in development of VR games during the pandemic?
Sorry, Jan. I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah, of course.
Super briefly, really quick. Thank you for sharing with us about your thoughts on how COVID impacted gaming development. Before you start to answer this question, which is really great, thank you, chat. Keep coming with the questions. Come on. I would like to introduce as well Ana Ribeiro, VR game designer at Arvory. So Ana is with us along with Jan. Jan and Anna, please, the screen is yours. Yeah, now you can answer the question. Sorry.
Sure, and then Anna, and then I'll let you talk, because I think I've been
okay.
having a long monologue here.
So the question is, what was the biggest challenge, right? Okay, I think the biggest challenge we're still solving, and we're still trying new solutions. First of all, thanks. Hi, everyone. So yeah, at Arvory, right, we work with VR, immersive experience. So we all work here all the time, most with VR and AR. And so I think the biggest challenge I think right now we have, and we have been facing since the pandemic, has been how to work together and how to connect with the team members, everyone working far away. I think that's like a struggle for the whole industry, the game industry, and many other companies. But specifically in VR, working with VR, I think there is I think specific for that area we work. I can say that making sure we are connected and working, it has been the biggest challenge. We have been developing the company now, even our own software that allow us to work together in VR, because to build for this media, we believe it's really important to share what we have been working, and differently from when we were in the office, we could be working together in the same room, but we would take a lot of time to share. Like an example, if an artist do an art and it would show in a monitor for everyone, hey, I did this, and then until we get to the game engine, to Unity, and do a build so everyone could see in VR how the art came to conclusion, it was like a big step. And with the pandemic, we had to kind of everyone move to home, to work from home, and we kind of have to be. Right now, we are working. I actually moved from São Paulo to Maranhão, and we haven't been working home office. So we had to find solutions to how we're going to be sharing our work the best way possible for the media we work. And I believe we actually managed to find the solution that is actually right now better than it was when we were in presence, physically presence, because right now we have been trying things like we are inside VR, using this software we are building the company, and also other softwares that we have right now in the industry that allow us to work together inside VR, to talk to each other, to share what we have been doing. And now actually it's actually quicker. That example I said about the art, that an artist would go through all these steps until you actually can show someone their work in VR. Right now we can actually build, I can see the artist building the VR model as stuff in VR, and we can all talk about, the programmers are in the same room, and we can go and say, wow, at the same time the artist is building, we actually are in the same room. So I feel actually we are right now finding a solution for this problem that is actually better than it was before the pandemic for the media we work. I think maybe I'm going really complex here, but I can give steps back. But what I want to say is that the hardest thing we faced was to how we can connect the team while apart, right? How we can work together and communicate better. And then while we were now working home office and in distance, we actually found we have been experimenting things that we wouldn't experiment if before the pandemic, when we work in the same room. And now we are actually forced to go deeper into that, and we are discovering actually better tools that we never actually worked so hard before. Now with the biggest reason, we are actually finding solutions that are actually working and I see it as a better solution for what we do today than we had before the pandemic. I don't know if I explain myself clear.
Yeah, you did.
Summarizing.
You were great, Anna. Seriously, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. But now I'm going to introduce you, Kevin Williams, co-founder and technology director of KeyW. Kevin, how are you? Can you share with us what do you think about these questions, what Jan and Anna said about VR and COVID, the developing area? I think your mic is muted.
Yes, it is always muted. That is the one enjoyment of COVID.
I do that a lot too. Don't worry about it.
It is the thing that I look forward to when I do my first presentation on a stage. I'm going to have a giant muted sign that people can shout at. Thank you. Thank
Sorry.
you very much for inviting me along, and thank you. So people understand a little bit more about KWP. We're a specialist in the out-of-home entertainment. So that is the use of virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality in location-based entertainment, theme parks, casinos, retail, a bit of everything. And where the consumer VR sector has used the pandemic to try and offer entertainment during lockdown, our industry has been closed. A lot of the larger location-based theme parks and entertainment centers have been closed, but it does not mean that they're dead. And what has been happening is development and design. There's been a lot of pivoting. And when I say pivoting, I'm talking about companies that were going in one direction and have used the time that they've had under lockdown measures to redevelop their design. And we're now at the fantastic point internationally where we are seeing the beginning of the reopening of location-based entertainment facilities in VR. And we're getting the first numbers in of facilities in Europe and facilities in America that have started to reopen, and it is good. It does our hearts well to know that the players still want to play in virtual reality, that they're still wanting to play in social entertainment environments. It's just now that we have to use special measures to ensure correct distancing, that we implore a greater level of hygiene and usage. It is the same problem that other industries are going through. The restaurant industry has had to change. The cinema industry is still yet to open, but they will be opening under changed conditions. There's a little bit more to this than just everything closed down and then everything reopens again. We have a phenomenal opportunity here. We have an audience that has been locked down for over 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months in many cases. And that audience is starved of social engagement, starved of immersive entertainment, and it is starved of the most important thing of all, which is fun and freedom. And what we like to sort of say in our industry is that we are in the unachievable at home market. That means if you can do this kind of entertainment at home, then you will do it at home. And there's no need for it to be similar to that available in out-of-home entertainment. But in out-of-home entertainment, we offer a much bigger experience. We offer also the ability for people to play with their friends. Now, when you say in virtual reality for consumer, oh, I'm playing a network game, really, you're not. You're playing a game where you're connected to someone else, and you hope that that is a real human being, and you hope that the game's latency is good enough, and you hope that your broadband connection is good enough, and all of that. What we mean when we say that people are playing together in location-based entertainment is people come in together, they play together, and they leave together. So that individual that they're playing against or competing against, they physically know is over there, either in a simulator or in a virtual reality experience. And that is a big thing for us. And that's why you hear a lot of people saying that no matter what happens in consumer VR, the out-of-home entertainment, the high-end application of immersive entertainment will continue to grow. And the benefits that we have are we have deep pockets, so we don't have to make cheap hardware. We have an audience that is prepared to pay to play. So there is an established business model already there. And the most important part about it is that we offer something that is unique and fun. And when you've been stuck at home, we have an expression, stir crazy, then the ability to have an immersive experience in a unique hardware that is unachievable at home is important.
So much, Kevin. Now we have one more question from our chat. So, do you believe that the home office may come to help in the development of VR games? What do you guys think?
I think it's important that home gaming moves on. we are at that unique point where the technology has achieved many good things, but there are many other opportunities on the horizon. And I see the convergence. We have a market that is chasing the cheapest headset with the cheapest games and the cheapest opportunities. And then you have the full virtual reality. You have the high-end VR with the expensive motion seat and the expensive head-mounted display. And not everybody has deep pockets. Not everybody can own a Ferrari, but also the lessons that we learn from the cheap systems can also be applied to the expensive systems. But please, I'd love to hear what the others have to say.
I think actually the previous question I jumped in, I was actually answering that, but I can talk a little bit more on that. I was just saying I believe we actually the struggles we faced during the pandemic help us finding better tools actually to work and develop VR games during now the home office. And especially like we have been building, I can talk about more how is this software that we have been building inside the company. I know we have many other tools, right, that we can use in the industry, the VR industry, but we wanted to find a solution that we could all connect to a server and all build stuff together in the same VR environment inside VR, because this is something that for us it has been always like a big need, right? It's definitely better for developers to develop inside VR. The putting the headset and taking out all the time, it was never like the ideal way to develop for this media. And we have been trying doing the distance, this software we have been building. And more and more, I feel the need of Unity and Unreal, all these engines to do that and to jump to that. I know they have been building like it's in beta, it's not ready yet, but I see now it's really, really something that we need to work in VR. This is definitely the best tool we found. But we need now to sort it how we're gonna be working with our game engines, because now it's a really good tool we have been using for brainstorming, for the idea, for the beginning of a project, right? We have been starting like 2 new games in the company right now, and it has been great tool for meeting the whole team, brainstorm. At the start of a prototype, do like a gray box, and that has been a great tool. And I believe we found actually a better solution. Even if we've gone back to the past and before the pandemic, which we consider normal, we wouldn't change that. We would do the same way. This has been like a jump and the development for us. We had been creating much quicker and connected better using this tool than we never had in being in the office, while we had to always be putting the headset out all the time, looking things on the monitor in a 2D screen. And why now we are inside VR, I can go quick and say, hey, look at this scale is great, looking what I have been doing and talking to the team while we are inside the world. So I think now it's still a development. We're still progressing in finding better solutions. But we know the path. We know this is it. This is the best thing we found to work and create games in our media. And I believe that the next step for the industry will be we need the game engines we use to go to also have this support, because we could be building everything, but we build a tool that now we are seeing ourselves. So if we keep building this, we're gonna build an engine because we need to program here. We want to do everything here inside the software. So we are starting like to go deeper into that and make it like we can make animations inside. And so we ended up getting to the point. Okay, we know this is great. This is better, but I believe that's something. We go deeper into this, but ideally, we would be great if the industry. We are seeing this, so I believe the engines are now going to invest on that too. I hope I answered the question, maybe just repeating myself.
You did. Don't worry. We
I'm
have.
I'm actually fascinated by that because we haven't done that, and so I think I'll be calling you after the
Let's
after the
talk.
presentation
Oh my
and
God,
talk
I'm so
about that.
excited. Let's talk more about this. This is what excites me the most right now.
But yeah, and I wanted to, I wanted to actually jump back to what something Kevin said, and that connects to the next question about the popularization of VR. What I found fascinating about COVID is that prior to COVID, VR was, so there were many things said about VR, oh, VR is dead, or VR is not growing enough, or VR is going to be the future, et cetera, right? But one of the things that came back was, VR is going to disconnect us, remove the connections from other people, et cetera. Is going to replace social connection. And what we're seeing with what's going on in now with the hunger for location-based entertainment, for social interaction, and as well as the like the video that was just released by Disney where they reopen the parks and everybody's crying. I mean, that's telling you a lot, right? So I think that there's that VR is not going to the days where we live in 100, like the Ready Player One days are far off. That's what that's one thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing, so it's actually quite funny because I work in consumer VR, so I'm actually on the opposite side of what Kevin says, but I'm 100% with Kevin on this. And then the other thing about the popularization of VR, so I think that, and that's my own personal, from my own personal experience, because I worked in console and then in mobile. VR has suffered from, I think, from the hype of mobile in a sense. So if I may just for a minute explain it, what happened was, so the technology, so there was kind of a hype train in 2014, 2015, 2016, where the technology developed and mobile was exploding. So games were everywhere. And so investors were like, okay, so games is the future. And games are growing. So what's the next big thing? And at the time, mobile games were growing at 20-25% a year, right? And the idea was, okay, what's the next technology that games are going to be conquering, and that's going to drive the growth of games? And VR at the time was not a product; it was just a prototype. It was just a technology, and there was no value proposition there yet. And so when the realization came that the technology wasn't there, the hype completely crashed, and then came the VR is dead, et cetera, right? And now, well, the first parties, HTC, Sony, Oculus, they've been heavily investing in hardware, and that's continuing to grow, right? So, and we have to thank them for essentially building the modern VR market. So I think that the Quest is the iPhone of VR, in the sense that if you try the Quest and you don't get VR, you're an idiot. Much like when you tried the iPhone and you didn't get smartphones, we can't help you, right? And in terms of sales, it's quite similar, because the first iPhone over its sale period of a year sold roughly 1 million units, and the Quest over 18 months sold a little more than 1 million units. So in terms of kickstart of an industry, it's quite similar. Now, I'm not saying that the growth curves are going to be the same, and they aren't, as we see with the Quest. It's growing dramatically faster than the Quest 1, but not as quickly as the iPhone 3G and then the iPhone 3GS. Whatever they will call it at the time. But still, I mean, we're seeing that VR is becoming more popular, and it's just, I don't see any obstacles to VR becoming more popular. It is becoming more accessible. The price is ridiculously low. So I think it's just upward curve now.
But Jan, let's play a little game here. I started in VR, which was the phrase was being coined in the 90s, and so our friends at VPL coined the word virtual reality. Up until that point, it was simulation. And really, I am of the opinion, looking at a longer view, that maybe we are heading more towards XR than we are to VR. From the demonstrations of the systems that offer both a virtual reality and an augmented reality superimposed, combined experience system that can turn off the virtual world and turn on the synthetic augmented world, seems to be much more of a consumer product. Where we, in our sector, we're looking at products that create experiences. That's all we care about. We don't care if it's VR, XR, MR, or AR. What we care about is that someone has created an experience where the person moves through a virtual environment collecting virtual flowers, and we need a head-mounted display that will achieve that illusion of immersion. We want people to be able to sit in a virtual reality go-kart and perceive that they're taking part in a game with Mario. So we use augmented screens, and then that's what leads to what we see in Japan with the Mario Kart theme park attraction, which is using technology that we would recognize from the augmented reality industry and the virtual reality industry, but are all combined into a theme park experience. I totally agree with you that the hype machine has been too much for VR. And I never really thought that Ready Player One was a really good book. It was an interesting science fiction experience. But for people to think that the metaverse and the Oasis and all of the elements that were portrayed in Ready Player One was the harbinger leading us to a brand new environment where everybody would have a virtual reality headset at home and a treadmill at home, and that maybe that's not how things are going to go. And you bring up a fantastic point talking about the Quest. We know internally, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, but internally, Oculus were expecting quite a lot more Oculus Quest 2s to have been sold by this point. Now, obviously, they're going to say that they've had manufacturing problems, courtesy of the pandemic from China, that people are at home and so are not spending as much on consumer products, no matter how cheap. But I'm interested to think about this as a little bigger picture. Where you talk about the iPhone, I remember that before the iPhone, there were a very large number of mobile phones. Not all of them called themselves smart, but I used to have a BlackBerry, and then I had an Nextel, and then I had myriad of phones. And it wasn't until the iPhone that the real market defined itself. And I'm just wondering, like with the Gear VR before it, which did sell 5 million units, if the Quest is going to find itself superseded by maybe a system from a Samsung, from a Sony, even from an HTC that offers more than just being a Gear VR with better tracking and no phone.
Kevin, thank you so much. We have another question for you, Anna. Let's go.
Oh, I was so interested in continue on that question.
So,
No, I just want to add something before we go. Can we add something before we go to the next question?
yes, please go ahead.
The value of the headsets, I think it's really, I think I would like to just bring it to, in our reality in Brazil. I am just looking at right now at Mercado Livre, which is where most of us buy our Brazilian Amazon, I would say. But if you buy a Quest 2 here, we don't have Oculus, never released the headsets officially in Brazil. So we would pay around 4,000 reais to get one headset. So here, I think this is still a big deal for many countries to not be jumping into VR. Like if you go in America and in Europe, you go inside a Best Buy, you go inside a shop and you see a Quest there. You can buy a headset for $300. This is like, it's still far for us, like it's still here because we didn't have officially released those headsets here. I feel that the market here could be so much bigger, and it's a big step for South America, for many other places that don't have officially released. We have to buy it from people reselling it. So it's huge. It's huge. This is like a price of...
or they go to a VR arcade. And that is what we're seeing in countries that don't have consumer VR. So the countries that don't have an Oculus Quest or an HTC that they can readily take, or let's understand it, don't have the space within their homes to play these games in a virtual environment. For a long time, the Japanese market was more focused on arcade games because people didn't want to play at home. They wanted to go out and play at arcades. And that's why the Japanese arcade market is totally different to the rest of the world. So that's changing. Like in Brazil, there are a number of VR arcade operators I know of that have grown very quickly, offering the chance for people to experience VR. If you don't mind me interrupting.
No, it's good. I think it would be good. I think before we go to the next question, just always really good to think about it, that the VR industry in different countries changes. It's like it's not everywhere and around the world is the same situation. So I think it's good that we bring this different perspective.
It's a big problem. I wish people thought internationally rather than locally.
Yeah, so I think that we are now trying to bring this, just thinking about like here is different, China is different, so it's a huge industry, but we cannot say like the price is good for everyone. No, I think that and it shows in the growth too, like in America, and I think here it's still like something for really expensive for normal customers to achieve. It's really difficult, and it takes a lot of time. I actually waited for my Quest for 5 months to arrive from America here.
Yeah.
Okay, go to the next question.
No, but Anna, well said actually, because as a Brazilian, we do have a Brazilian perspective, and we know that price and accessibility here, talking about VR is so hard. Not every developer has like the opportunities to work with VR, and not only that, like the public. There aren't many VR players here, so well said. Thank you for that. So let's go to the next question now. Thank you very much. So the next question is, can you send it to me, please? Just a second. With the pandemic, we have seen more and more new forms of social interaction emerging. How do you see the potential of VR in this scenario?
I'm happy to start answering this question. If you are I have been in the community I have been using VR since 2015. I seen the start of Outspace, VR Chat. The big players we have right now, Rec Room, and following those social platforms and the amount of other new social VR platforms that we're seeing now, I have been experienced and seeing the growth of the events in these places that I never seen before. Like before the pandemic, I used to go Outspace, I used to go in VR Chat, and there was not much lack of it was a really small lack of options, I would say, compared to now. There is a lot of new things appearing, new events that we didn't have before. I have been in events in VR, participating in podcasts and interviews, social VR events like in Horizon the month of March. We even have like a big month for women developers. I met many developers inside Horizon, and I showed the worlds I was building. There was like talks I have been going. There was we actually have now a comedy club we are part of, and we are doing every Friday partnership with a comedy club show Fail to Render, and they grow a lot. We had like the room in maximum potential of people every week to watch live comedians from LA giving a stand-up comedian show live. And we are doing this inside the Arcade of Pixel Ripped every Friday. And this, what I want to say, that the amount of events and opportunities that we have been having now growed a lot. And I especially the ones that we did had before, like Rec Room blew up, right? We had the growth of the ones that exist, the players there were before in the beginning of 2015. They grow a lot, and now we have a lot of new ones appearing. And I have been expanding so much time in VR, meeting friends, working, and also doing interviews, podcasts, and watching talks that I feel like some days the only time I'm not in VR is when I'm eating or when I am going to sleep. It has been a little uh, weird experience, also because of developing VR. So I must say that what I watched more in the industry is that I've seen that the VR, social VR, became much stronger because of the need of people right now of connecting with others, and even stand-up comedians coming to do a show in VR because they're incapable to do in real life. So this made it so much growth. Like the need for connection right now, the best media we have right now for connecting when we are distance is VR, right? So we have seen it. If you open going out space and any of these platforms, you see there's so much events going on that we never seen before the pandemic. This happened, and it is definitely like I think one of the things that grow the most inside the VR industry.
Well, that is the interesting thing now about education is that we have, for the first time in history, a large populace that has been educated for many months under internet. The school of internet has taken over the learning, the education, and the information for many billions of individuals. And that is a sector of our market that will never change. That the physical educational process will continue, but there will also be the opportunity to depend on both immersive education and internet information. One of the things from our industry, the out-of-home entertainment industry, is that many arcades, VR arcades, that were closed during COVID, some of those reopened as educational facilities, allowing local schools under special conditions to utilize the equipment for education. And we are now seeing, as I said earlier, companies pivoting towards offering not just entertainment, not just simulation, but also education and VR tech, or ed tech, as the trade likes to call it, or edutainment. These are aspects that could become a major addition to the education syllabus across all of the markets. And this is a new price point, a new opportunity. I just need to mention one thing before I forget. In Brazil, there is a company called YDX that's actually traded on the stock market out there. And they're a company that has doubled down on location-based virtual reality as well as virtual reality for training. Where in America, we have companies such as Dreamscape that have taken their virtual reality experiences, where you put on a head-mounted display, you wear a backpack system, and you move around an environment. They're actually using that in a partnership with the Utah University to make that a medium to teach physics and history and biology within, where rather than just putting on a head-mounted display and looking at virtual education, you can actually interact with it. And it is that level of immersion and physicality that separates what we do in the outer home from the limitations of the consumer. But Jan, I know you've got some observations on this.
I was just going to get back to what Anna was saying about new forms of interaction and what the potential of VR was in this scenario. I was actually going to rain on that parade, but probably because I'm French and Parisian, and so I'm cynical and depressed, and because it's gray outside as well. So apologies for that. But so the feedback I got from investors whom we've been talking to about VR over the past year has actually, and that's what I was saying in the introduction, is not been as positive as you might have expected. I got some feedback of people, of investors, and specialized in the games industry, saying if VR had been like if there was one moment for VR to pick up, it would have been the beginning of the worldwide confinement, right? Because that was the proving point of, okay, so if it's solving all of these issues, right? If it's providing all of these new social connections, interactions, et cetera, we should have seen an explosion of consumer VR, for that matter, in that particular instance, and which we didn't see. Now, obviously, the argument's a little flawed because VR is still in its infancy, and the price point of the Quest 1 was a little higher than the Quest 2. But still, the argument is interesting. Like, so I'm not entirely sure that. And then my second point was going back to. Damn it! I lost my second point. Yes, my second. Yes, there we go. My second point was that I did a lot of VR meetings and meetups. Meetups in VR in 2020, spring, summer, and then that stopped. And the things that were happening in VR happened on 2D screens and moved to Hangouts, Zoom, et cetera, proving to me, at least, that not that it's not relevant, because it was, and certainly the immediacy of the connection that was pointed out by Anna is much stronger than on a screen. But at least the technology isn't there yet to be, apparently, well, again, it wasn't, these events weren't organized by me, but apparently the consensus was that the technology for VR, or consumer VR, isn't there yet to be as productive or as good or as relevant for professional discussions than Zoom would be, for instance. So I think there's great potential. It's maybe not just there just yet.
Totally. Thank you so much. Jan, Kevin, and Anna, you did great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your thoughts about VR, COVID, and this whole situation right now. I know these are harsh times, but we can share this into some really good stuff for us to get over with this situation. Thank you so much for your time.
VEG Festival 2021, the biggest games festival in Latin America.